Right, good afternoon, guys, and welcome to the Tuesday afternoon kitchen talks. Today, I'd like to introduce you Dr. Lizzy Deery from Chester University, and Lizzy is the exercise physiologist tutor. So every Tuesday, we have different health talks. We have cardiologists, nutritionists, all the giving their health advice on lockdown period. So today's session is going to be the benefits of physical activity over physical exercise. And this is something the World Health Organization has said 1 in 4 adults do not do enough physical exercise. And we know physical exercise plays a massive part in reducing your risk of mortality. So the risk of reducing your risk of getting type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and cancer. So I'd like to welcome Lizzy to the Health Kitchen, even though she sat in a front room in a living room.
Thanks very much, Paul. Thanks for having me along today.
No problem as well. So I know you obviously your job, you teach the exercise physiologist course down at the Chester University, don't you? So people coming out into the exercise physiologist world to work in hospitals, rehabs, all sorts of things like that. And I know a couple of weeks ago we all got invited to your free open seminar you did at the university, and that was around physical activity and standing desks.
Yeah, that's right. So it was about sort of the role of, I suppose, our ever increasingly sedentary lifestyles, and with a focus really on occupational sitting time, so the sitting time that we are subject to at work, because a lot of research shows that in the UK and indeed across the world, we spend about 70% of our working day sat down. So that's obviously a huge chunk of time spent sitting down, and that can have an impact on things like our blood glucose management, blood insulin levels, and in the long term, there's a hypothesis or suggestion that that can lead to things like type 2 diabetes.
Absolutely, yeah. And you mentioned about the standing time as well. So obviously, I've been working at home during this lasted about 10 weeks. We've been in lockdown now, and I was sat at the first few weeks. I was sat on my settee working through my patient list and ringing them, and I spent a lot of time in this position where my head was looking down, the iPad was on my lap, and I noticed obviously my step count massively drops because I spend a lot of the time teaching cardio rehab classes and cancer rehab classes, but I opted in the next few weeks. I was starting to get a bit of a stiff neck. I was getting tired in the afternoon. So I moved towards my kitchen worktop with the bread bin and my iPad on top. So I developed my own standing desk. And that made just a massive difference to the way I felt in the day.
Yeah, certainly. And that's something I can definitely identify with. I mean, when I'm in the office, I've got a sit stand desk. I'm really lucky to have that in the workplace. And when I'm teaching, I'm moving around a lot. You know, I'm never sat down when I'm teaching, I walk around. But since we've been in lockdown, you know, same as you, been sat at my dining table or at the desk in the spare room, and just increasingly sedentary, sore back, sore neck. And I've done something similar, DIY stand-up desk, but it's definitely not the same. And it's difficult, isn't it? You know, if you've got two screens, if you've got laptops, you've got books, it's a bit of a balancing act. So, you know, it's trying to build in some sort of a practical approach, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. And obviously, the recommended physical activity for anyone listening out there is 150 minutes, and that is about 30 minutes a day. And if you're listening, guys, and you're thinking that seems a lot to be starting off with, you can even break that down, can't you, Lizzy, into small chunks, or maybe 10, 15 minute slots twice a day or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. So the recommendations say that you can do sort of 3 10-minute blocks a day. In terms of the physical benefits, you'll still get those if you do less than 10-minute blocks. The reason there's that 10-minute suggestion is that it's easier for us to track and monitor, so we can remember, oh yeah, I did 10 minutes walking the dog this morning, and did 10 minutes this afternoon. But you know, you probably don't remember walking 2 minutes up a flight of stairs, say 15 times a day. So again, it comes back to that practical approach. So aiming for 10 minutes 3 times a day is a great place to be.
Absolutely, yeah. And ways to get physically active. Obviously, walking is a great one, and walking can be done with majority of people. Obviously, if you're thinking yourself, I've got a lot of lower limb orthopedic problems as well, you're always welcome to come to the lifestyle team, and we'll find the right exercise for you, because you can take part into Tai Chi classes, what's very good for joints, water-based stuff as well. But if you don't want to do structured exercises, just enough benefit of going into the garden, doing some gardening, obviously lifting things, walking with maybe a bit of a rucksack on your back as well. There is better ways, or taking the long way, going for a walk and going the long way home and things like that. So you don't actually have to do structured exercise, do you, Lizzie? You could always take part in something else.
Yeah, definitely. I would say really the best thing that people can think about is what we call incidental physical activity. Which is going to increase your energy expenditure. So essentially the calories that you're using in your day-to-day life. And we know that that's going to be useful in terms of maintaining weight and even losing weight. So if you can build things into your day, that's going to be the best way to do it. We know that if you incorporate exercise in a large chunk, so I know you mentioned, doing some longer training sessions yourself at the weekend, and then that sort of leading on to you potentially being more sedentary afterwards. And actually there's a lot of research supporting that, if you get all your exercise in one big chunk, are you then going to compensate for it in the following hours and days that come? And if so, then actually little and often is going to be the best way to build up.
Yeah, and Lizzie's just like me, a fellow Ironman triathlete or Iron woman. Obviously, you did the Ireland one, didn't you? What was it? Horrendous weather.
I did.
Yeah, so I'll pick a sunny day if I come over to do that one. But you probably know the same as me, Lizzie. When you've done an Ironman train, people don't know what an Ironman is. It's a hell of a long way of exercise. It's 2.4 mile swim, 112-mile bike, a 26.2 mile run. Obviously, if you're training for that, you spend a lot of time riding a bike for 5 to 6 hours, coming off and running. I know when I've done these endurance, like you said, I may go for 5, 6 hours on my bike, and I'll spend 10 hours sat on the settee watching films because I've got no energy to do anything else as well. And it was interesting. I had the same conversation with a couple of the guys at the Warrington Running Club who they tend to put weight on when they do marathons.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, isn't there? That compensation, and it's hard because you're exhausted. You maybe don't make the best nutritional choices to sort of refuel, grabbing convenient stuff, and also that feeling of, well, I've done a massive exercise session, so I'm entitled to eat what I want. But what we know is that even if you're somebody who exercises, you mentioned earlier the 150 minutes. If you achieve those 150 minutes, but you still spend the majority of your day sat down, being what we call sedentary, then you are still at an increased risk of certain lifestyle-related diseases. So things like type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, certain types of cancer. So if we're thinking about health risks, we really need to split off sedentary behavior, whereby, we say we lie on the couch and watch Netflix after a big exercise session, and split that off from physical activity. And that is, building in movement into your everyday life. And it's striking the balance between those two things that's important to do.
Like you just said, you've hit the word I was about to say back to you then. It's going back to that old word again, isn't it? Balance, and just doing a little bit here and there. And I think obviously we've talked with one of your colleagues, Tom Butler, a couple of weeks, and we talked a lot about weight management. And obviously when I've worked with weight management patients, think that's it now. Monday, I'm back at the gym. They do Monday night at the gym, Tuesday night at the gym, Wednesday night at the gym, and they go at 100 mile an hour as well. And then they start to creep off. And obviously we'd rather you just do little tiny bits and just increase your physical activity day to day, and it will start chipping away from a weight management point of view as well. So other ways to get physically active, obviously, if you're looking to find any information, do you recommend that we always go down with the NHS or the Change for Life websites? Any way you can find advice, Lizzie, from the online or?
I think you've hit the nail on the head with the Change for Life. They've got some excellent resources. You've got things like the Couch to 5K program that people can follow. I know people that have had great success with that. So you don't have to be a runner. You don't even, have to want to be a runner. It's about building up your stamina. And also the One You app. I don't know if that's one you're familiar with. Yeah, I think that's a really useful resource for people as well. But if we're talking about incidental physical activity, then something like your phone and just seeing how many steps you do a day can be a really useful monitor and a gauge. So maybe I always recommend to people to perhaps have a look at it over a week period where you're just living as you normally would. And that gives you a baseline. It gives you a good gauge of what is your norm. Let's say if that's 5,000 steps a day. then to aim to increase that week on week. And you know, like you said, not trying to go 100 mile an hour at once. Try to add on 1,000 steps the next week and 1,000 steps on top of that. And we recommend people get at least 10,000 steps. The evidence suggests that actually, you know, we probably need more than that, but 10,000 is the figure we aim for. So building that up bit by bit as we can. But in lockdown, that's really, really difficult. And I'll be honest and say I'm not hitting 10,000 steps a day. But you've got to be aiming for it. I think that, you know, you've got to be consciously aiming for it. And like you said, get in the garden, get physically active. Just moving as much as you can and building in movement into your day. I think. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Lizzie. Yeah, and obviously public health with the guidelines slightly changed. It's all about increasing muscle strength, isn't it? And if you check out some of the on your Livewire YouTube page, we've done some videos using tins of beans. If you've got some light weights at home, especially over the age, I would say 40, strength. Muscle strength is probably a little bit more important, isn't it? And cardiovascular health. They play part and part, but as we get older, muscle strength is very important.
I mean, it can feel like a cop-out to keep going back to the balance thing, you know, but we need both. You've got to have your cardiovascular fitness, and you've got to have your musculoskeletal strength as well. We know that if you can improve your muscle strength, then you're going to reduce your risk of falls, you know, maintain your independence. So it's hugely important. And you mentioned things like Tai Chi earlier on, you know, if people can do yoga, Pilates, getting tins of beans, getting up and down the steps in the garden, whatever it is, it's going to build your muscle strength, whatever you have available to you.
Absolutely, that's brilliant. Yeah, so like we said, guys, NHS website, Couch to 5K, Change for Life. Go onto your YouTube and your Livewire Warrington. We put some really good exercise videos on. We put a Tai Chi one, we put a mobility, we put a strength exercise one, we put a cardio rehab session on. So there's lots of information out there as well. Right, thank you very much for coming into the kitchen or in your living room. Good luck with the rest of your training.
Thank you very much, you too.
So, next week, guys, we've got Steve Edgerton, clinical physio specialist, and we're going to be doing a little talk on back pain in lockdown. And I imagine, looking at that, a lot of what we talked about today is going to be linked into the increase in back pain. People doing less activity and different posture changes and all sorts of things. So if you're suffering from back pain, take on what we've said today and have a listen in next Tuesday at 3:00. So thank you, guys. Making sure you stay safe. Welcome. Thanks for tuning into the Kitchen Talks. Thank you to Lizzie. Keep active, keep washing your hands, and we'll see you soon. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.